Welcome to the Python video on more on basic data structures. So you probably should have went back and look at basic data structures before this, but if not, we'll keep going. You'll kind of see what's going on. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another list here, and I'm going to make this simple, very simple lists. Let's see, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm also going to create another one. I'm going to call it B1, and I'm going to do, let's see here, 4, 5, and 6. So this are going to be our lists. We are going to run these real quick. It's going to put them in our variable explorer over here if we click them. Now, when we do this, we might want to look and actually see what happens when we do things that we might think would be different. Okay, so here's just simple addition, right? It looks like we're going to add this together. We should have 5, 7, and 9. When we run this little bit and see what happens, we see it doesn't produce 5, 7, or 9. What it did is it concatenated the list together. So addition here works differently, and you need to be aware of that. All right, let's try another operation. So let's say A1 times 4. Okay, so we would expect this to be 4, 8, and 12 there, right? And if we run this, you will quickly see that we don't get that. What it did is it repeated the list 4 times. So it is a multiplication of sorts in the sense of it is replicating things. It's multiplying them, but not in the arithmetic sense. So just keep that in mind as you're playing through this, because this can become frustrating quite easily. Okay, so let's keep going here. Another thing that's really fun to do, or good to do, is this range function. And range says stop. Okay, so we're just going to do this. It's giving us the tooltip. We just need stop. And let's run range here. And, cancel that. I hit the wrong button. Hit that one. And it says Z1 is range. So if I type in Z1, it just gives me the code back. But is that right? It should give me a value, right? Well, that's what you're thinking, and that's why Python is a little bit different than what most people think. So if I put in what is the first element of this thing, run that, I get 0. Well, what's the 9th element? Well, if I plug in 9 into it, I get 9. So what's going on here? Well, what it's doing is it's creating a list of sorts, like a variable, but it's not really a variable. It actually generates this every time you do this. So it says Z1 is the function range with 10 as the list. So if I put in there 5, it's going to go and get 5. So actually what is here is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 all compacted together. So it's not like what you're thinking. If you're thinking, oh, I'll just plug in what's the 5th element of range, you're not going to get the thing that you think you're going to get, okay? Nor can you display it. So just keep that in mind, because a lot of people get really confused on this. So let's put a little comments here. So addition is concatenation, okay? And multiplication, if I can spell it, is replication. And range is a function that gives us, well, it doesn't really give us anything. It allows us to obtain something. So range allows us to obtain a sequence. But it's not the sequence. So keep that in mind, because as we go along here, you should be getting a little frustrated in the sense that you're expecting Python to do something like you would expect it to do, and it's not doing that directly because Python by itself, without any of the additional libraries, is just a programming language, and it's fairly, well, I want to say it's flexible, but for data science-y type things or statistical computing or mathematical computing, it doesn't know what we want to do. So we need to put more into this. Okay, so let's look a little bit farther, see what else we can do. Well, there are some things that you might want to know is the length of a list. So what's the length of A1? How many items are in it? Len is the function that will give it to us. And you can see it's 3. And you could go up here and count 1, 2, and 3. So it gives us that sort of information. So keep that in mind. when you're working with these types of objects when you're playing with Python. Now, these are basic data structures, and I'm really not going to spend a whole lot more time on these because you really need to start using libraries, and we're going to use the library Numpy, and that's where we're going to go on in the next video. So that's where we actually do something useful. But I need to show you this because a lot of people forget that this will happen. So I'm showing you, look, what will happen if you're not careful. So I put all of this in my one file, as maybe you should do, and I just broke it up. All right, so now we're going to move on to NumPy in the next video. See you there.